And hello, how you all doing? We are now live, as you are probably no doubt aware. Now, long-time fans of my work might be aware of the fact that many years ago I did a video where I reviewed some popcorn flavours. I believe it was a very short-lived brand, and not many people watched that video, which is why I'm doing another one, but doing it live. And basically, we're doing this as an excuse for a lot of silliness, essentially. It's just an excuse to kind of hang out, but under the pretense of trying popcorn, because as you know by the sign right there, you know that I'm absolutely nuts about popcorn. I have a bit of a fondness for it. So, just to give you some backstory, Joe and Sephs is a British brand. I believe it's a fairly smallish independent brand. It's all sort of handcrafted artisan popcorn. This was actually sold in multiplexes in my local Cineworld. You could actually get a couple of flavours of this, but it was normally a bit pricey because obviously it's, individually made and everything, so that kind of adds up after a while. And yeah, so I hadn't really tried them up until this point, and I should stress that this video is not sponsored, hashtag not spawn, to steal a joke from Mike Jevons. It's purely because Vodafone VeryMe has been doing a lot of various different offers on their popcorn, and, I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist. My curiosity was piqued. So I've essentially managed to get loads and loads of different flavours of popcorn. You've probably noticed that the bags aren't actually all that big. Some of them are about 32 grams or so in the smallest varieties. That was purely because I was trying to get as many different flavours as possible, so those bags were probably about £2 each or so. I did have some discounts and stuff, so which is why I've managed to accumulate so much popcorn. Some of these are going to be nice. I imagine all of them are going to be nice, actually. I've heard nothing but great things about Joe and the Sephs. Some of them have won taste test awards, as clearly seen on the packaging. Hope we're all doing okay this evening, or whatever your time zone is at this present moment, while I try awkwardly to keep eye contact with the camera while not looking at the at the screen to its right. How's the audio, by the way? I've actually got this on a convoluted setup where the camera's on separately and the microphone is on separately. You're actually hearing my voiceover microphone, the one that I use for the projector reviews and the podcast. That's what you're hearing right now, just sort of out of frame right there. Your sister would love the bag with the cat on? Well, apparently there's a story behind that. I don't really know where to begin. I should also mention that if you want to support the channel, the super chats are available and even encouraged. So let's start off with something. Let's go with the one that I'm going to assume is alright. This is milk chocolate popcorn bites. This is one of the varieties that they do. Salted caramel popcorn. This is 63 grams. And yeah, so apparently this was founded in 2010 by Joe of Joe and Sephs, my wife, and his sons, who love all things popcorn. So people after my own heart. Alright, so let's get right into this. Let's dig on in to... Right. I was expecting these to all be covered, but they're actually half covered, as you can see here. Almost sort of like a dewdrop kind of fashion right there. Alright. Okay, that was very nice. That's very nice. It's dark chocolate, so it's got a very nice edge to it as well. It's very complimentary. As you would probably expect, chocolate and popcorn are very good bedfellows, I've found. Packaging is also resealable, which is also a massive bonus, because I can just take a few nibbles and then just seal them back up for when I actually want to eat them. There was the temptation to just have that whole bag all in one go, but I will refrain. Alright, let's go for another bag of bites. This flavour is white chocolate and raspberry, so kind of stepping up a little bit. I better clear the palate actually. I've got a glass of water here, Cinema branded glass. Okay. Okay, that cleanses it a little bit. Right. I believe this is a relatively new one, this white chocolate and raspberry one, because they were trying to promote it quite a bit. This time, it's very similar to the other one. Obviously, white chocolate dewdrop. What you can really tell if the camera will focus on it properly. No, not my face. Focus on the thing. Focus on the thing. Focus. I have to do the Ashens thing. Focus. Okay. Yeah, you can kind of see the red sprinkling on top right there. Yeah. So, could you focus back on my face? Yeah, that would be great. I'm filming this on the old camera because it connects better with well, I say it connects better. It's the only one I actually have a connection with because my new camera uses a different micro HDMI system because there are two. Because that's annoying. It's starting to melt in my hand, so I should probably eat this. I'm not really getting much of a raspberry out of this. I'm getting a lot of white chocolate, but I'm not getting much raspberry. I'm going to give it another go, give it another pop. Got a little faint hit of raspberry there. But not a lot of it, you would consider. It was a fairly light sprinkling on there, so it doesn't entirely surprise me that that it's not very powerful. Harry Baker, Super Chats, £5. I forgot we all used to go to the cinema and get popcorn. I know. I found myself really missing going to the cinema of late, because it's one of the few communal spaces that I used to go to. And yeah, there's not really many excuses for me to go out at the minute, so what I've been doing is just basically going for walks, and that's pretty much all I've been doing. I've been avoiding going to shops and public spaces for the most part, but I have been missing cinema, and you know what, it's just not the same watching new releases on a laptop, which is what I've been doing. If I've been reviewing things on projector, I've literally taken it into another room so that my whole attention could be on the movie and review that, and it just doesn't really have the same ambiance. I mean, I could tell you that right away from Trolls, where I was like, oh, I'm getting massive compression artifacts from watching it on stream because there's so much happening in the frame. Really adds something to the cinematic experience, that does. Yeah, really does. It's a bit of a shame, the whole the fact that this whole situation means that we can't actually go to cinemas anymore. Because, you know, I don't want cinemas to go away. I think there is a place for cinemas. I think there's a place for VOD. I think they complement each other. They shouldn't eclipse each other. I think some films do need to be seen in cinemas. And honestly, watching films at home can be really difficult because things can happen. Whereas cinemas are very dedicated spaces. You're there to watch the movie. The lights are out. The sound's loud. It fixates your attention on the screen in a way that if you're watching something at home on television or on a laptop screen, it can't really do. So that's always a hurdle that any movie that I'm watching on that sort of format has to overcome. It has to overcome the fact that my attention might, well, get distracted by something completely out of my own control. So yeah, not really a fan of that. I know that most cinemas are actually reopening this week. I understand it's on July 31st. That's technically in the UK, cinemas have been able to open since July 4th, and there have been some sites open. Some showcase cinemas, a handful of Odeon sites have, and some others. I think the closest near me is somewhere near Chippenham. I think that's the closest one that's currently open, but most cinemas in the UK are going to be reopening from Friday, and that's because of the whole thing with Tenet and Mulan. When they got pushed back again, most of the cinema chains elected not to reopen their sites, or only open a handful of them. View and Cineworld in particular opened none of their sites. They've been completely shut. I have to admit, I've been surreptitiously wandering over to my local cinema that's in walking distance and seeing how things are going, and it looks like they're upgrading stuff. They were already doing that when they were closing. They were getting a 4DX screen. It looks like they finally finished that because the signage at the front has changed since last month. I'm not cinema stalking. Yes, I am actually. I'm totally cinema stalking. Another super chat from Alien Boy 13. Have a great day, Matthew. You too. You too. Thank you for the super chat. Okay, so I think we should probably get back on topic because otherwise I'm just going to start talking about cinemas. And I know that you love me just going on random tangents, but maybe I should just get back to what I'm supposed to be talking about. Or maybe do a combination of both. So I don't know where to begin with these small bags. The small bags are where the most interesting stuff lay. Maybe I should just leave that for a little bit and go with something a bit more ordinary. Okay, so this is salted caramel. This is something that I think is, again, relatively new. Starts with buttery caramel and to finish, savoury sea salt. If you don't love this popcorn, I'll eat my hat! Well, might we? Not a lot of ingredients there. Corn, sugar, butter, corn syrup, and sea salt. Everything a growing boy needs. Right. Tear here and enjoy the aroma. Right. Are you telling me that I'm going to have to stick my nose in this like some fancy wine? Okay, maybe not the easiest package to open. Remember that these ones, they sold in cinemas, so imagine trying to tear these open while you're at a cinema. It would not be the easiest thing to do. Made a right bloody mess of that. In my usual clumsy fashion. Okay, let's get a... as you would expect, very flavoured, as you can tell, because it's very sort of buttery looking. That's not bad. Yeah. Got a nice sweet but kind of salty kind of edge to it, as you would expect from salted caramel. You can definitely taste the caramel, quite heavy on the caramel. It tastes when I went to Chicago a couple of years ago, Chicago has a very distinct sort of popcorn flavour. They have a special local brand there who sell, I think, it was something weird. I was encouraged to get it. It was something like cheese and caramel, something like that. It was a very kind of sweet and sour combo. If you're from Chicago, feel free to correct me or provide more information. But I got that while I was in Chicago. And when I say I was in Chicago, I was in the airport at the time, because it turns out there was a little branch you could get that from. And the caramel side of it tasted exactly like that, which is good because that was very nice popcorn. The cheesy side of it, I was rather more hesitant to have. I went on a whole sort of odyssey to try and find popcorn that I like, because I like sweet popcorn, but that's not a thing very much in America. That's like a whole separate brand. You call it kettle corn in America, and I didn't really figure that out until near the end of my trip. But yeah, that was... You guys really like salted popcorn that's unnaturally tinted yellow, like almost suspiciously so, and no, that's not for me. And it's so salty. I got it at the movie theatres and it was just so salty. Not a fan. Moving up to caramel and Belgian chocolate. An enchanting crunch with a smooth, rich coating. We'll see about that. I'm debating with myself whether I'll be going to the cinemas when they reopen. I will be definitely masking up and all that. And okay, so as you can tell, very similar to the last ones, but you can tell they've got a fairly fine coating of chocolate on them. If the camera will focus, it's very hard to tell on these screens whether the camera is actually focused on them. Okay. Tastes very much like the sour caramel ones. The chocolate is faint. It's not as strong, obviously, as the bites, because the bites have this kind of dewdrop kind of thing, which makes the chocolate hit that much more powerful. Whereas the Belgian chocolate on these is a lot more subtle. So I get the ASMR noises in there. It's nice. I would argue that it should be a little bit more chocolatey than it is. This apparently won the Great Taste Gold Award in 2012. I would argue that I'd want a little bit more chocolate out of there. But maybe it's just a bit more subtle. Because it's there, it is there, but maybe they just don't want it to an overpowering extent, which is perfectly understandable. Bunny in the box says, "My independent serves grapes rather than popcorn." Ooh, very fancy. Are you in a Roman Colosseum? Sorry if you hate the sound. Alright. Okay, so now we're left with the more unusual varieties. We are escalating. So, next up is a little bag of maple syrup and roasted pecan. They do also have pecan pie or something very similar to that. Rich and nutty. I should hope so. Start with maple syrup, and to finish, roasted pecan nuts. When I think of America, I think of pecan pie. I have it every so often, but for some reason I do have a weird sort of fancy for pecan pie. They seal in the bags for freshness, but it does make them a little bit difficult to open. Or maybe I'm just weak. Maybe. B super chat. I live my popcorn dangerously salty and yellow. I presume you love the popcorn, and you know, each to one's own. The reason I love sweet popcorn is because that's the taste I associate with popcorn. So the fact that it's so salty in America, I go, this ain't my popcorn. Get off my lawn. But I'd imagine it would be a similar culture shock coming over here. So ooh. See, on the previous ones it said sort of get the smell, and I didn't really get that because when I opened it just sort of smelled like popcorn. This one, there's a definite aroma. Ooh, that's very honey and kind of mapley. Yeah, definitely got the flavour right there. You can kind of see little pecan-y bits on there, and it's kind of coming off my hand. It's very sort of flaked. Yeah, it's kind of got flakes on there, and it's all on my fingers. You can kind of see it probably on the. Come on, focus. Yeah, you can see it all coming off of my fingers. But it's very sort of powdered and clustered on there, as you can no doubt see. Well, that's unusual. It doesn't actually taste like popcorn at all. It really doesn't. It genuinely has that kind of honey roasted kind of taste, which is unexpected. You know what this tastes like? You know what this tastes like? Honey nut clusters. It tastes sort of like that. Sort of got this kind of crunchy nut kind of taste to it. I like that. That is stealth popcorn. Kind of creeps up on you. Right. I will cleanse the palate. Next up, caramel, pepper and chili. Sweet and spicy. Start with smooth caramel, followed by hot pepper, and to finish, spicy chili kick. Now, I don't know what my sensibilities are with chili. I am probably low to moderate on this. Not a complete wuss, but I definitely not adverse to hot stuff. This was me deliberately, knowing that I was going to be doing this live stream, picking a more exotic flavour. I was deliberately going through their website and trying to find the more niche elements of them. And yeah, so this is definitely an example of something that I probably wouldn't have picked for myself. I probably would have gone with the easy bets, like all the chocolatey based ones and things like that. But sometimes you gotta step out of your comfort zone. Right. That didn't tear off properly. Isn't that always the way? You try to tear something and it just doesn't tear properly. And then you start cursing and swearing. Alright. Okay, very similar smell to the, I would say, to the maple one almost. But a bit more bitter, for obvious reasons. There is a... Yeah. You can kind of smell the pepper a little bit. Very fluorescent, sort of amber colour to this popcorn. Focus, focus. Thank you. Can you see the peppery bits on them? Yeah. Man, popcorn is so small. It's very difficult for the camera to focus. Now focus back on my face. Good boy. Good boy. That's a good camera. That's a good camera. Ooh. Okay. The longer you taste that, the more that you get. Ooh, okay. Very, very mild heat on the back end of that. So you definitely get the caramel right at the top, and then the pepper starts to kick in almost immediately, actually, on top of that. And the pepper kind of adds a real bitter quality to it. But then the pepper, you start to pick up as you chew more into it, and you start to get more of that pepper and the chili mixed in, and then it starts to just gradually ramp up. I'm overselling probably how hot these actually are, because they're not. They're just sort of mildly warming, almost like something you'd want on a winter's night. Something to kind of make you feel a little bit toasty on a cold, cold night. Yeah, the chili is definitely the aftertaste. It definitely hits you on the back end of it as you swallow. Yeah, it's definitely kind of in my throat right now. Yeah, so that's definitely right in there. Mm. Yeah, that's interesting. Very, very mild chili. But presumably you wouldn't want to have a... You wouldn't want to... Well, this is a 32-gram bag. You'd probably get away with this, but you probably have a bit of a kind of scorched throat. I don't mind a bit of a sort of chili peppery kick, but normally sort of very mild one, and that's about on my level. You know, on the wuss level. We should probably cleanse the palate after that one. Also, my throat needs a little bit of extinction. Bring in the firefighters. Yeah, unmistakably that pepper taste is still in there. Kind of sticks with you a little bit. I'm opening this and I hadn't even announced what it is. Toffee, apple and cinnamon. Again, another fairly exotic one. This is crisp and tangy. I would describe the last one as fairly tangy with a bit of an edge to it. So this is smooth caramel to start, followed by delicious apple, and to follow cinnamon. Okay. Again, one of those flavours where on paper you go, how is it gonna taste? How do you manage to make something taste very appley? It almost feels wrong with something so savoury as popcorn, but I'd imagine popcorn was a fairly good base because you could, because it is a sort of quite, on its own, quite flavourless object, you could kind of use it to put anything on there, and that's where the appeal lay. Super chat by Cartoon Kelly. Farley, another popcorn video. At long last, the thing that two people have maybe been waiting for. Which is why I'm doing it live, to make it more fun. With more audience interaction. Right. Yep, that smells like apple pie. Just straight up. Yep, that smells like apple pie. Which is about what I expected, actually. It's you get a very strong smell out of these. I think the packaging, the foil here, does a very good job of sealing in the freshness. The popcorn itself, very amber coloured. Again, I don't know if the camera's focus is going to pick up on this, but there is a very faint sort of speckling on these. Just very, very faintly, which I'd imagine is the cinnamon. Focus. Focus! Come on, boy, focus. There we go. See, this is why I had to buy a new camera. It's because this was happening, where if I was moving my head too much, at a certain point while I was filming, the camera would just slightly be out of focus and not reset itself for the entire rest of the video, and then in post-production I'd have to basically sharpen the image to try and compensate, otherwise it would be very noticeably out of focus. And it was subtle but pervasive, and so I decided to get a new camera to make sure that it was always locked in focus on me, because the Sony a6400, which is my new camera, is the best in autofocus in its class. That being said, I have discovered that it is still possible to trip it up. One of the big additions for the new camera is that you can tap on the screen and it will lock focus, but I didn't do that when I was doing my Inmate number 1 video, and in the last half of that review, it lost focus with me. I must have stepped out of frame at one point and then came back in, and it was focused ever so slightly on the shelf behind me rather than my face, which is very slightly out of focus. Yeah, it's one of those small slight annoyances, and you know, considering that I've spent 2.5 hours filming that video, I was not going to try and do it again. Anyway, back to the toffee, apple and cinnamon. Very strong hit of apple right from the outset. A little bit of cinnamon just to kind of give it this kind of sweet, sort of tangy kick. You could sort of taste the popcorn on the back end of it. It has got a kind of mapley kind of quality, similar to obviously the maple flavoured one. Which makes it, funnily enough, a good one to sort of pair up with it. Okay. We have saved the weirdest for last. As I should, because otherwise I'd be very bad at making this. This last flavour is mozzarella and tomato pizza. Yes, I was as curious as you are. Pizza popcorn? How is that gonna work? Tomato popcorn? Another super chat from Solvis. Welcome to Bad Snack Beatdown. None of these have been bad, actually. None of them. Not even ironically, none of them have been bad. They've actually been surprisingly good. Knock on wood. The unique taste experience of our air-popped popcorn starts with extra virgin olive oil, followed by mozzarella and tomato, and to finish, a peppery kick. Oh, this is interesting. So apparently this is inspired by Pusheen the Cat. Pusheen loves Joe and Seph's popcorn. Aromatic and creamy with a splendidly peppery finish. This is going to be very odd. This is going to be odd, isn't it? Okay. Who looks at their popcorn and goes, what if it tasted like pizza? This is the part that I'm curious about, because, you know, pizza, quite savoury, quite cheesy. Not a fan of cheese on my popcorn. I will tell you that one of the worst popcorns I have ever tasted in my life. I had it while I was in Chicago, in America. And there was a cheese popcorn. And I tasted it. It was from, I can't remember the brand. It was just something that was knocking around in someone's cupboard. And I tasted it. And I could have sworn that it tasted like sick. Like, genuinely, it's so disgusting that it was setting off my gag reflex. I was like, just awful. Just awful. Ugh. Absolutely revolting. Really vile. Which has now turned into a long-standing in-joke with my friends. Because I was so emphatic about how much I hated it. But it was gross. It was absolutely vile. Okay. Do you think there is some maniac that has put popcorn on pizza? No, there absolutely has been some maniac that has done that. I don't think it's crossed over into the mainstream yet. That's a weird smell. That does not smell like pizza. Kind of tomatoey? I mean, yeah, you'd expect tomatoey a little bit. Yeah, that's a very weird tomatoey, cheesy kind of smell. But of course, you know, this one is very flaky on the fingertips. Really kind of powdery. So let's get a good close-up here of what that looks like. So you can see that this one is less sort of ambery than previous ones, but very, very powdery. There's sort of a cheesy and tomato powdery part to it. That was such a small bit, it didn't taste like anything. Focus. Thank you. This one looks like a brain. I'm eating my own brain! Oh, that's very odd. Okay, I'm going to say that one's probably the worst. I'll describe why in a second. First, there's a super chat from Cartoon Kelly again. I've never had a pizza flavoured thing other than pizza that hasn't disappointed me. That's true. There's a lot of pizza things that taste terrible. This, I wouldn't say this tastes terrible. It's definitely the weakest out of this bunch. But I knew that I picked this one because it's the most out there. And considering the concept of this popcorn and the way that it defies my explanation, it's probably the best this could have gone. So to describe it, you can definitely taste the extra virgin oil, which is probably the strongest element here actually, because it's the first thing that hits you, and the cheese sort of is on top of that. And the tomato is a bit of a weird flavour. Now, admittedly, I'm not a fan of tomato. I have tomato ketchup, and I have tomato puree, and I have pizza and things like that. Don't like tomatoes by themselves. Never have. I don't know why. Just not a fan. So, admittedly, a tomato-based thing is probably not quite in my wheelhouse. This is a very strange one. I'm gonna have to go. No, there you go. Yeah, there's that extra virgin oil. It does taste like oregano and tomato powder, as you said, Marwillan. I think that is literally what you're tasting right there. Is the It says that there's a peppery kick. There's no peppery kick on the end of this, or at least certainly not the sort of obvious black pepper that you got from one of the other ones. I'll give that one more go because this is the weirdest one. See, the more I go into it, the more it does start tasting a bit like a pizza. But it definitely has the texture and consistency of popcorn, and it does. You have a little bit of that popcorn flavour in there as well, which just kind of mixes things up a little bit. It's very strange, very bit of an odd one, that one. But you kind of knew that if you were ordering mozzarella and tomato pizza flavour popcorn. Now, how would I rank these? Well, I think my favourite... I like the bites. I do... These bites here, I like them quite a bit. Probably because they're very, very chocolatey. I would say that I quite liked the... You know, these ones I got in little bags, these maple syrup, pecan, toffee apple one. I quite like those quite a bit. I think that the pecan one might actually be one of my favourites. The chili one, I could take or leave that. I could take or leave it. The salted caramel one is perfectly decent. It's not a niche flavour though. I would say it's what you'd kind of expect. So I would say that my personal favourite, to my surprise, is actually the maple one. I would say that the maple one is probably my favourite outside of the bites. And the weakest ones, the pizza I think is the weakest one for me. The chocolate one, this caramel and Belgian chocolate one, did surprise me a little bit. I was expecting a bit more of a chocolate hit from that one. Maybe I was not You know what I found from tasting these in quite quick succession is surprisingly they are very subtle, I would say. If you were to taste an individual kernel, it seems very much tailored towards that. A lot of people kind of eat popcorn, including myself, by the handful, just sort of getting a little handful. And these aren't made for that, as you can probably tell by the bag sizes, because if you did that, you'd finish them in about 15 seconds. And I think that what you need to do is literally take one kernel and chew on it and chew on it and chew on it, and really get the flavours out of it. You know, this is meant to be sort of high-end gourmet stuff, and you're paying quite a bit for them. So that seems to be the logic behind it. So there's a reason why they managed to quite pack in a lot of flavour, in my opinion. Now, we have to do the stupid thing, which is try to put one of every single flavour into my hand so that I can combine them all into some hideous monstrosity. Because that sounds like a sensible thing to do. Just sort of cross the streams. Is this how you imagined spending your Monday nights, watching a dude eating popcorn? Not gonna lie, if someone else did this, I would probably be watching them. But this is why you come to my channel, because you get weird things like this. Why did I pick ones from the chocolate ones first? They are melting in my hands. There's one of the pizza ones. How much do these retail for? I think the bigger bags are about £3.95. The smaller ones are £1.95. The bites are £2.95. That is, I believe, what they retail for. But I got these on discounts. So that is why I have got many different varieties. Oh no! Oh no, I dropped one! I resealed this one too well. I can't cut it open. You know what this tasted like? It tasted like popcorn. That's what it tastes like. If you put all of them together, the flavours negate themselves out. That's what happens, is that you do get a bit of chocolate in there. The chocolate is quite strong in there. But, yeah, otherwise the flavours largely negate themselves. So, oh my god. It's melted all over my hand. It looks like yeah. Sorry, that's gross. That's gross. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've enjoyed this excuse for absolute silliness on my part. Thank you for allowing me to indulge myself. Hopefully I've kept you entertained for the last 45 minutes with a little bit of popcorn and natter. A little bit of a pop and chill, as it were. Thank you, Cartoon Kelly, for another super chat. It's only my Monday mid-afternoon. This is the best use of my time, honestly. Okay, so I'm gonna... My hands are an absolute mess because of all the flavours that have come off onto my fingers. They have all stuck together. Oh no! But thank you all for popping by. Take care, everyone.